broadcasting live from the studios of TV Free Baltimore. It's Speak Your Mind TV.
Welcome back to Speak Your Mind TV, everybody. Again, I'm sitting here with my colleague, Cole Collins. And the special guest, one of the special guests of the evening is Dundalk TV representative and traumatic brain injury survivor, Scott Collier.
Yes, well, Derek, thank you very much for having me on the show. And it is a pleasure to be working with you, doing some things behind the scenes as well. But I'm very happy to be a guest tonight. And traumatic brain injury is a very important subject that is not getting enough. I'm going to mess up. I'm sorry. It's not getting enough traction in the news cycles. I work very hard to get people to bring awareness, and unfortunately, it is not there. So the support's not there. With a brain injury occurring every 9 seconds in America, just there needs to be more awareness. People just wearing a helmet, wearing a seatbelt, realizing that if they fall, that this can cause a traumatic brain injury. This month, my friend a year ago passed away after she fell and slipped in the tub. So something that people do every day, climbing in and out of the bathtub. If you fall in the tub, it can cost you your life. I lost a dear friend, and I'm an advocate. I was actually trying to get her to sell her house and move into a house that was better suited for her, but unfortunately neither one of us knew exactly how quickly that needed to happen. So wearing helmets, wearing seatbelts, and just taking precautions is so important.
Yeah, and you suffered your brain injury in 2007, correct?
I did. I suffered my brain injury in a motor vehicle accident at work, and I hit my head and estimated speed of 10 to 15 miles an hour, and people say, well, 10 to 15 miles an hour doesn't seem like it's very fast, and it's not 25, 30 miles an hour, but if would strap you to a front hood of a car or a vehicle and let your head stop you as it impacted a brick wall, and that's basically what happened to me. I doubt anyone would really want to take that on, but you don't even have to hit your head. Just your brain flowing. It's in a fluid, and when you stop, your brain keeps going at that same speed. And then what happens is, because it's in a fluid, your brain bounces all around. So actually, my brain bounced all around inside of my skull and tore all kinds of nerve endings and did all kinds of damage, and my life became a pure and living hell, and I became an advocate to make sure that other people don't have to go through what I have. My life has become totally upside down. I lost my family, lost everything I worked for all my life, and it was a very horrifying experience, and don't want to see anybody have to go through that. So bringing awareness is so important to me, and I bring awareness daily.
Scott, can I ask, when you had your accident, very low speed, 10 to 15 miles an hour, what part of the vehicle did your head make contact with?
I was in a pickup truck, and my head hit the sun visor area of the truck. I'm a little bit taller, so I actually was telling Derek earlier before this segment is that I did a reenactment because I do videos on Dundalk TV, and when I was doing a reenactment, I actually thought that my face may have impacted the windshield, but during the reenactment, I realized that my face couldn't have gotten up there because I went towards the steering wheel, and I really would have. It was impossible to twist my head that way. So it must have been that my face impacted a part of the sun visors. Well, I thought I hit more, maybe a little bit lower, but during that reenactment, creation, I realized that it didn't hit the windshield at all.
Were you wearing your seatbelt at the time?
No, I wasn't. I was in a very an environment that you pass maybe a half a dozen cars in a day. I was working at Glen Meadows Retirement Community, and the foreman had taken the seatbelt and actually hooked it into the seatbelt connection there. And he was in and out of the truck all day, so he didn't want the buzzer to go off. And like I say, I understand why he did it, because there's just really no traffic there.
Mm-hmm.
But that set me up for having this really bad accident.
Right. No traffic, no high speeds involved, no expectation that anything awful could happen, and boom. Next thing
Yes.
you know, you still
Sudden.
had that traumatic brain injury. From
Well,
this.
I usually drove my own truck across that same piece of ground. I used my own vehicle, but my vehicle was inoperable that day, so I used the company truck and didn't realize that they had a snowplow harness on the truck, which had an angle iron underneath of it. And I knew that they cut a tree down, and the tree stump, I had a cell phone, it was only about that high. Now, any truck should have been able to make it across there, so I said I drove across on a daily basis in my own truck, but because of that angle iron there, it caught it by 1/4 to 3/16 of an inch and stopped me dead in my tracks. And when that happened,
Man. Even at only-
and that was life altering. My arms and legs wrapped around the steering wheel, and my head impacted the sun visor area of the truck. Now, after it happened, I got out of the truck and was checking what was happening, and I thought that the transmission bell housing may have gotten caught on the tree stump, and thought, oh geez, they're going to love this. But when I looked underneath of the truck, it was the angle iron that had caught it. And I didn't have any experience with any kind of snowplow equipment at all in my life, so this was just shocking to me. Big learning experience too, that I'll never forget. But after it happened, it took me 2 years to think back, and kept on, it wasn't post-traumatic stress or anything. I was just trying to figure out what happened, and just kept on thinking back through it. And I didn't think that I was knocked out, but then I realized that I was slumped over in the seat, and then I started shaking my head. And because I was shaking my head, that brought me to the conclusion that I was shaking my head to wake myself up. So I must have been knocked out. I don't know how long it was. I know it wasn't for an hour, half hour, or anything like that. It would have been for a brief amount of time. But and other things happened too that it took a long time for me to figure out. And being in a vehicle again, that kind of helped me realize that it doesn't take that long to stop. Even at 20 miles an hour, you can put the brakes on the car and you stop in a very short distance. So that's where I gauged the speed at. I know that I had to go up a little incline before I stopped, and I had to give it a little bit of gas, so I just estimated that speed. And I see so many things that happen with people, especially in sports. We were talking about sports earlier. I'm pushing for kids to wear helmets playing soccer. There's so many injuries that are out there. One gentleman that I met at CCBC, his cousin was a teacher, and she was walking through a gymnasium, and a soccer ball or volleyball was kicked up in the air and came down and hit her in the head. She was in the same kind of shape that I was in, and I could not remember past hello in a conversation, and I could not take down a phone number. And I just read a story within the last week that there was a woman that was a swimmer, and she was training to go to the Olympics, and she was jogging around a track, and the inside of the track had a field, and somebody kicked the soccer ball up in the air, and that hit her in the head, and she wound up in the same kind of situation, and then her dreams of being in the Olympics were shattered. And people, I spoke to a woman the other day, her grandson was starting soccer for the first time, and she said that she had told him, don't head the ball, but I told her the story, he could be running down the field and not see the ball, and the next thing, and it can be in a practice too. If if you have a bunch of kids, it wouldn't even have to be in a game. If you have a practice and you have a bunch of kids kicking the ball around and the ball goes up in the air, it just hits one kid. That's two instances that I know of right now where kids were injured, or someone was injured with a ball that they didn't see coming. But I've also read stories about professional soccer players where they have sustained injuries like this that have altered their life as well.
In your interpretation, do you feel as though there's enough awareness and enough awareness programs out there to teach people about how easy it is to succumb to brain trauma? A lot of people don't wear helmets a lot. You see it quite often. Do you think that there should be more programs in place, or are there already programs in place, or are we just simply not talking about it enough?
I don't think that there's enough education out there. I think that things have changed in the last couple of years and they're moving in a better direction, but I think that we're failing to bring awareness. If this was cancer and I told you that putting a helmet on your head could stop you from getting cancer, making sure you have a seatbelt on properly, making sure you don't stand on a chair that you could fall off of, or a ladder that you had somebody hold it to make sure you didn't fall. I believe that people would be dancing in the streets about this, and
sure,
it would be on the news for a year and a half. But I try to bring awareness. I've called up Channel 13, I've called up Channel 2, Channel 45, so all the news stations. I have had a article put in the Sun paper. They did one article, the East County Times, and also the Dundalk Eagle. They ran one, and Buzz Beeler, when he was working for the Dundalk Patch, did something, and I appreciate all those people doing that. But they did one article, and if you don't keep things in the news and you don't remind people, I've been trying to do something on Labor Day, so to kick off the summer, that remember to wear your helmets and give the information. And one thing that we didn't bring up is that a brain injury can easily cost $1 million or more to treat, and it financially devastates people. So not only do you have the problem of the brain injury, but also just the one person that suffers that injury, even if they would be a child, the amount of the cost of what it costs for that just totally wipes out a family entirely.
Your story is an incredible one, though, from somebody who suffered from this, because there is a brighter side. It seems like you've been able to rebound, really go through rehabilitation, and then at some point I read where you actually ran for state senate. I think that happened in 2014. Now, what was that experience like?
Well, I'd like to go back on I'd like to make one other point, and that is that in 2015, it was estimated to cost the American taxpayers $85 billion to treat traumatic brain injuries. So I use that as a leverage to, when I speak to people in the political system, to get their attention. And but that's just for medical costs. So from there, I thought it out a little bit more and said, well, that's not for housing, that's not for transportation, that's not for food. Then I went even further a little bit later. I thought, well, a lot of times when a parent dies, then the children wind up with money for the rest, for 18 years. Mm-hmm. So when you start calculating that up, how much are we talking? Are we talking $300 million a year? Are we talking $500 million a year? So, my goal is to cut this in half. The traumatic brain injury is a global epidemic. Now, I said that brain injury occurs every 9 seconds in America, but globally it occurs 1 second, every second or more. So we have a huge problem on our hands. And just by wearing the helmets and the seatbelts and start taking a more proactive approach to things, we can stop the epidemic. Now, you had mentioned, or your question was that saying that I had therapy, but I didn't have therapy. I was injured on the job, and workers' compensation has denied to give me any kind of formal cognitive therapy. Now, this is a Saturday, and next Saturday, you've been kind enough to have me on the show to talk about traumatic brain injuries, and that'll be 10 years. I have not received my first day of formal cognitive therapy.
That's terrible.
It is. It is very sad. And I've been very blessed. People ask me how I make it, and I say God is looking out for me. That's the only thing that I know. They ask me how I'm making it, how I made it all these years, and I say God has been looking out for me. I've had very little help from anyone. And when I say thank you for having me on this show, I mean it from the bottom of my heart.
Absolutely.
Because, just the awareness is not out there.
You're very welcome, by the way.
I'm out there every day, bringing awareness, and I talk to people and political figures. I spoke to Dutch Ruppersberger, Ben Cardin, Elijah Cummings, and Anthony Brown. They all told me how important traumatic brain injury awareness is. They all told me that they would help me. They gave me their assistance cards that went absolutely nowhere. I have those guys on video. I don't know, if it's so important, why they didn't do it. But I'm very fortunate that Governor Hogan and actually has allowed 2 meetings with his administration, and also the Lieutenant Governor Rutherford and also Governor Hogan did an interview with Dundalk TV, and I think that speaks volumes about them.
And I was just about to ask you about Dundalk TV. I was really excited about getting into this conversation because, again, for somebody that's been through what you have left nothing for chance. I mean, you created the DTV, Dundalk Television YouTube channel, in which you record tons of videos and cover as much as you can and bring a lot of awareness to several things, a lot of stuff which is much more than just awareness to traumatic brain injury. So that takes a lot of effort, I'm sure. And also, how long has Dundalk Television been in existence now?
Well, we're just coming into our 6th year, but I started Dundalk TV to bring awareness, but I knew that if I just spoke about traumatic brain injury, people would not watch in the community. So I mixed the parades and different events going on into the mix just to get people to come. And it's worked out well. And I made a conscious decision that I was going to try to help other people while I help myself. So, I'm out there trying to help myself and fight to get any kind of help that I can, and trying to figure out where I can get some help. And even though I haven't gotten help, I've been able to direct some people to different places, even though I wasn't able to get the help that I was looking for. And this is cognitive therapy for me. So, just where I'm sitting at right now today with you and having the opportunity to do something here in this studio is absolutely amazing to me. I had no kind of experience doing any kind of video work other than on family vacations, and so this is my vocational rehabilitation. I haven't been given any kind of opportunity to do that as well. So this is my vocational rehabilitation. I'm trying to give myself a shot at life again, and I'm trying to bring the awareness, and it's been working out very well. And I appreciate the compliments that you have given me. Some of the people that in the industry as well have given me some compliments, and I greatly appreciate that. I put a lot of work into it. Actually, my whole day is filled with, from the time I wake up to the time I go to sleep, I say go to sleep. Actually, I pass out. I work so hard. I work until I pass out. My fingers, people ask me to text them something. I can't text them anymore. My fingers hurt so bad from operating the keys. I can't do it anymore. So I'm like using my thumb. I'm using my finger like this. I mean, I work my tail end off, and but it has worked. It has worked. I can say that I have brought some awareness out there. I know that I've spoken to some people that are actually implementing some of the stuff that I've talked about, and a lot of people, all the political figures know who I am, and people say, that's Scott Collier from Dundalk TV, he's a traumatic brain injury survivor. So if they identify me is having a brain injury and know that I have these videos there.
Sure.
So they're kind of cluing somebody else into something when they're telling them that. But also, I have made a difference in bringing that awareness to them, that they even know anything about traumatic brain injury. Because I've had people say, I would have never known anything about brain injury unless you would have brought it up.
Scott, I have a question. Now, when all the times that you've been talking with our state politicians, have they ever mentioned any opportunities for cognitive therapy through the state Medicaid program?
Well, personally for myself, I was injured on the job, and I didn't want to burden the taxpayers at all with that kind of, as I said, $1 million or more. I'm a very patriotic person. I've always.
But you pay your taxes I
know,
into this
but I've always.
this.
I actually want the
That's
people.
right.
I want the people that are responsible to take care of it. I have to tell you, I want them to take care of it because it is their responsibility to take care of this. Not only, not only do I want to have the medical side of it, I also want to be compensated for this as well. I live off of a little over $700 a month, and that is a very difficult way to live. And like I say, people say, how do you make it? And I tell them God is looking out for me. So, I found out a long time ago trying to fight the system was so difficult that they were making things worse on me, my situation worse. So what I did is I just said, I'm doing this on my own already. I stopped dealing with them. I cut out so much stress just taking care of me and trying to take care of the problem that I had. And before it was a problem with my family. I had lost my family. It was a problem with the lawyers. It was a problem with the doctors. And the doctors don't understand this. And it's not just me. I actually have a petition to Dr. Phil, and I hear about people talking about this all over the globe. The situation is the same. It's just like the NFL. When I going through my legal process and the doctors and all that kind of stuff, it was deny. And I saw that with the NFL and the front line, how they did that. It was just like, it was my story. It's like
services were denied, like the therapy services were denied?
Yeah, that was all denied. I fought like anything. I just went to court again, fighting them not too long ago because I have a problem. Like I did in this segment, I had a problem remembering the word that I wanted to. I have that at different times. So, and I mean, the world's not coming to an end, but when you're doing this kind of video work and everything,
Sure.
I wanted to try to strengthen that, and of course I'm trying to be as healthy as I possibly can. So I actually thought that might help my condition out a little bit more and also help out with my video work on top of that. So that's why I wanted to go and just, and I wanted to start the therapy too. So whatever I can do to improve myself, I want to do. And unfortunately, those services weren't there. But you had asked about those services. I think that they might be there, but the doctors out there just don't get it. So I started to ask every doctor that I went to if they understood traumatic brain injury. They all told me they did, but their reports told me they didn't have a clue what they were talking about. So the last time that I went to a workers' compensation hearing, it was actually one day before it would be 9 years. So I said to the commissioner, I said, Commissioner, tomorrow is going to be 9 years. I said, and I really don't feel like I got a fair shake going through this whole process, so I would like to be able to say something. And he said I could. And it was a new lawyer. It was the opposing attorney. It was the same law firm, but a new lawyer. And I said, I don't disagree with anything that he said. I'm sure that all that paperwork says what it says. But I can tell you that the people that wrote that need to take that paper down off the wall, because the only thing it's good for is wiping their butt. And the commissioner actually wrote that he thought that what I said was credible. But because my lawyer didn't really put up that good of a fight, that's why he didn't put that part in there. But because my lawyer didn't put up that good of a fight, then that's why I was denied.
So what you're saying is that in a broader sense, that the physicians, the medical community really doesn't have that kind of specialization that you feel needs to address the
I have
traumatic
gone.
brain injury?
I have gone to neurologists that don't understand what's going on, and I'm not. And I say again, I'm not alone. I mean, I see about this stuff across the globe. I have, just one, for instance, after another, different places, and my story is not uncommon. So, and I mean, I can back that up easily. I have people that have signed the stuff on the petition that I have to Dr. Phil. And I also started the Global Brain Injury Association this New Year's Eve,
Right.
and just people right on there. So I mean, I can get one person after another coming, and there's advocates across the globe that I've come in contact with. I'm in contact with people in Australia. I'm in contact with people in the UK. I'm in contact with people from Greece. Right now, the Global Brain Injury Association is getting ready to start doing interviews with a doctor from California. She had 2 brain injuries, and it took her 12 years before she was able to get her license back. Now, I want to make her my doctor because she understands brain injuries and these other doctors don't. And I feel very blessed, once again, that I have somebody that is willing to come forward to try to help other people. And it goes beyond that, because there's so many people with invisible illnesses as well. So there's Lyme disease out there that doctors don't understand, and it just goes even.
Well, I'll tell you what. We got to go to a commercial break. When we come back from the commercial break, I'd like you to tell us all about this book that you've written. Okay? And we will be back to Speak Your Mind TV with our special guest, Scott Collier, and my lovely panel here with myself and Cole Collins. We'll be back after these messages.
Hi, this is Cindy Williams, and you're watching TV Free Baltimore.
Okay, and we're back. And we're sitting here with Scott Collier from Dundalk TV, also a traumatic brain injury survivor, still battling, by the way, yet and still very strong individual. It's doing any and everything he can to bring awareness to people about brain injury, so that the more people know about it, then he feels as though he is doing his job, and we're all here to help. This is something that we all have to be aware of, and it can happen to each and every one of us at any given moment in our lives. So back to you, Scott. We touched a little bit on your book, and you just kind of wanted to enlighten everybody about it before we went to break there.
Yes, well, you said battle, and the name of the book is Traumatic Brain Injuries, The Long and Difficult Battle. And a part of that book is also called In the Blink of an Eye. So when you said how this can happen to us, it happens to people. My friend fell in the tub last year, and she is no longer with us. So myself, just this freak accident at work, it just can never imagine this. People were just bumped at very low speeds, and things happen, and they wind up in the same situation. So, but the book actually is about the first 3 years of my life, and then I picked up the Dundalk TV after that because I still needed to continue my cognitive therapy, and I also knew that I wanted to bring the awareness, but also I wanted some kind of shot at a real life again. So this is my way of trying to do it, and I'll leave it up to everybody else how they think that they're doing. I think that I do a pretty good job, and for the little bit of resources that I've had, I didn't own a camera when I first started shooting videos. I didn't own a computer, and I didn't have the internet. I didn't know anything about YouTube. I didn't know anything about Facebook. I was not on any social media sites. So I realized that this was a way to bring awareness, and that it was a major tool So I did whatever I could and was very fortunate enough to have a special needs educator take the time to start a YouTube station with me and start things out. I couldn't remember anything he was telling me, so I started videotaping what he was telling me so I didn't have to ask him 10,000 times what he just said.
Well, thank you so much for coming to our TV Free studio here in Baltimore, and we look forward to the next episode in which we will be celebrating your 10-year anniversary in this ongoing struggle and battle to continue to bring yourself into that general kind of population of way of feeling after succumbing to this kind of traumatic style of brain injury. And Cole, did you have any other questions for Scott?
No, it's just it's very inspirational what you've done and what you've managed to accomplish despite everything that you've gone through.
Well, there's a big thing with suicide going on out there, and I do speak about that, but we'll leave that for the next show. And I would like to say that Derek Sturman is one heck of a guy. He does care about people. He's out there helping people all the time. He's a coach for football and actually has worked with one of the community leaders about the opiate problems in our community, and actually did a documentary on Pastor Wright and had Pastor Wright on the show. So glad to have you in my community.
Absolutely. Thanks for
and
coming.
thank you for what you're doing in the community as well, Derek.
Sure. Thank you for that acknowledgement. And it's a pleasure. And we have a lot of long work ahead of us, and I'm really looking forward to getting involved in a lot of that stuff. So I will definitely be in touch with you the rest of this week, and look forward to the next show.
Well, I'll finish with saying together we can change the world and we can stop this epidemic. It's actually about putting on a helmet. How hard is that? So if we get the word out, we can get it done. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
To both of you.
You're very welcome. Okay, so we're going to go to break. Very enlightening interview with Scott. You will see him again next week for the anniversary episode of his traumatic brain injury, rehabilitation, let's call it that for now. And we're going to talk a lot more. There's so much information that could actually be delivered to us from Scott, from Dundalk Television as well. So we will be right back.
Broadcasting live from the studios of TV Free Baltimore. It's Speak Your Mind TV.